This is Anita coming to you from OMG.coach here at lovely Bloomin' Acres. And I'm inside the studio and I'm just starting to set up before I go into some sessions today. And I was thinking, I'm working with a group that has a lot of union members. And I have a story from the road that is just, wow. So I had been working with this organization for 5 years. And I had taken the organization from having an incredibly dysfunctional culture into one of self-directed work teams, and everything was okay. And we had gotten rid of all of these bullies. We had gotten rid of the profanity. We'd even painted everything on the site to get rid of all the profanity and we even painted everything around the building to get rid of the graffiti and the profanity that was all around. And we came across this difficulty. All of a sudden, there is some more graffiti that's going over the newly painted areas. And this was a union requirement that if you expect us to all have better behavior, then we need to have pride in our facility. And so the organization painted everything, and now all of a sudden somebody's doing graffiti again. And this guy comes forward and he says, the graffiti is targeted at me. Okay, why do you think that? Well, when I work at the 5th level of the building, the graffiti's up there all the way that I can see in the open area. I can see it on the ceiling. When I go to break, the table that I sit at looks right over a wall and the graffiti's right there. If I lay down on the bench of the table in the break room to take a quick nap, underneath the table, the graffiti's there. I'm being targeted. The graffiti's even in the ladies' restroom. Now, I had to stop on that one here for just a minute. What do you mean that the graffiti's in the ladies' restroom? Why are you in the ladies' restroom? Well, it's in the tampon box. Are you needing to use tampons? No. I just know it's there. I was looking for graffiti and that's where I found it. So there was a little bit of a warning bell coming off with me. And I don't know if you can feel that warning bell as well. I mean, this is kind of really wild. And so I meet with the director of HR and we're kind of looking at this and I'm going, I don't know that anyone in this plant would know this gentleman this much to know all his habits, including going into the ladies' restroom to look in the tampon box. Maybe he's bringing home tampons to his sister or his wife or a kid or something like that. But how would anybody know that he would be the person who's in the tampon box? And so I hadn't seen the graffiti yet. And he said that he was being targeted by a racial discrimination group. I won't name what they were, but he had shaved his head and he was saying that they were making fun of his last name and targeting him ethnically. Okay, I could maybe see what that looks like. And I saw the pictures of the graffiti and I was like, oh yeah, okay, they took your name and they tried to make a swastika out of it. Now this is pretty artistic. So this took somebody some time to do this. And whenever they put it up, they had to take quite a bit of time to do this as well, because it really was a really nice looking graffiti, take out the swastika. And so I came up with this plan and I said, when we go into negotiations with him, he has asked for me to be his mediator. And I said, just kind of follow my lead and keep those pictures of the graffiti on the side, because I want to see what he does. And so I brought in some blank paper and some things to write with. And I sat across from him and I said, I haven't had a chance to look around the plant to see if I could find this graffiti. Is there any way that you can draw it for me? And he says, sure, of course I can. So he starts to draw out the graffiti. The minute his union rep saw it, the minute the president of the company saw it, the minute the director of HR saw it, and the minute I saw it, I knew exactly where this graffiti was coming from. He was doing it. He gets done and he hands it over to me, very proud of himself. It looks a lot like that. No, not a lot. It looks exactly like that. So I didn't say anything. I looked over at the union rep and I said, is it time for us to take a break? And the union rep said, yes, it is. And so the union rep's smart man pulled him aside and talked to him out in the hall. Basically, we sat in the room and waited, knowing that they were going to be back in to see us here in just a few minutes. And then union rep comes in and he says, well, the gentleman I have talked about this, and he has agreed to some counseling and a little bit of time off on FMLA until he can get his head back together again, and the graffiti will stop. I said, thank you. This has been a really great day. Thank you very much. And thank you for asking for me as a mediator. Now, when we were thinking about this and talking about this later, this is an area that's very depressed. And I'm pretty sure that this gentleman was like, you know what, I'm going to sue them for this graffiti, especially after they've done all of this to clean up the plant. He was asking for a $60,000 settlement. I don't know if he thought that that was going to last him for a little while, but he was also going to then walk away from the company. And this area doesn't have a lot of jobs unless he wants to work in agriculture. So I don't know if he really realized that $60,000 isn't a large amount of money. And now he's cried wolf. So there's one of my stories from the road. It was always interesting when I was traveling around and working with different organizations. Let me know your thoughts on this. Head on over to omg.coach, see what kind of offerings we have up there. And I've got a comment box that you can leave me some information and tell me what you think. Have a great day. I hope to see you on a webinar soon.